Okay, how long have I got? 15 minutes. All right, greetings. Yeah, this is Marley. Okay, so let me get straight down to it because there's a lot I want to try and pack into this video. I hate watching long videos though on YouTube, so I'll try and keep mine as short and as concise as possible. Not too much rambling, not too much repeating myself, so let's go. All right, first of all, I wanted to talk about the Channel 4 documentary that was on last night. Today's the 29th of September, I believe. So yesterday, 28th, we had in the UK a documentary on the supposed sex tourism or sex industry in the Gambia. And it was a very kind of like thin or tiny kind of, remit about this documentary. So I wanted to be able to give some context to what we saw there. And I know that many people watching this would have no idea who Channel 4 is and would not have seen the documentary. Sorry, but for those of you who have, you'll be able to follow along. And if you haven't, there will be spoilers ahead if you decide to watch it. Anyway, let me get down to it. So first of all, now we saw like how there were certain people who were linking up. So you had a white lady and a black guy. I can't remember their names, but you remember who I'm talking about once I get into it. The lady said that her husband in Gambia was 50 years old. She's never sent him any money or anything like that, but they're in love. He's been building a house for her, so on and so forth. All right, cool. Sounds very nice. She was 62, I think she was. Anyway, so you meet up with this man over in the Gambia. He doesn't look a day over 30. And as they get into the whole conversation, he's like so kind of quiet, like it was hard to even get him to speak. But he was saying that he works for the government as a plumber. He works as a plumber for the government. And then later on he said, yeah, he does painting and decorating or something as well. And somehow from that, in 3 years, he was able to save up 80 grand, I think 80,000 euros, I think he said, to build this magnificent yard for his white queen to live in. Okay, all right, well, that's a lot of rubbish, because it is. It is. But anyway, that's what he was saying. But she had said that this man was 50, but he doesn't look he doesn't look over 40. He doesn't look over 40. And as the presenter started to dig into it, he said that he was 46. Then she came back and said he's 48. Then the presenter reminded her that she said 50, and she's like, "Oh no, I meant 48, but I got confused." It was horrible. It was horrible to watch as these people were trying to keep up a charade. You know what I mean? This kind of like whole story about their supposed love life, and it reminded me of something that Neely Fuller said. He says that mixed race relationships are no more than tragic situations? I think it says tragic encounters, something like that. But he uses the word tragic in there. And in this case, in this particular scenario, it was tragic, because what we've seen is that there's this whole kind of story being put out there about how self-sufficient this young man is, and so on and so forth. And in actual fact, he is dependent on this other woman, but she doesn't want to say that, and she doesn't want to make the age difference seem too great. So then they lie about the age, and they're trying to keep up with each other's lies and so on and so forth. And it was just very, very horrible and cringe-worthy watching it. We had another couple where you had this man. It started off with the man over in Gambia. He was working in a craft market, but then he was in love with this woman who was 82. This man must have been about 30. He said he was 50. Did he say he was 50? I can't remember what age he said he was. But he was young. And he said that his missus, the woman he was going to marry, was 82. And she sent him 60,000 euros. And with it, he bought some land, and he had done a small little hut. Now, I don't know any land. It was 1 acre, right? I don't know any land unless you are buying the land like in prime real estate, and it wasn't. Unless you're buying the land in prime real estate, ain't nowhere an acre can cost you 60,000 euros. So I'm like, okay, so he's already doofusing this woman already. But that's what he's saying he's doing. Secondly, we finally get to meet the woman that he was marrying. And she's not 82. She's a lot younger. It turned out like she was 68. No, 62, that's right. He swapped the numbers round. And it's like as though, again, it felt like a very tragic encounter. It was just another cringeworthy situation, because these relationships, or tragic encounters, let's call them that from now on, aren't based on love or mutual understanding or things in common. They're based on a power dynamic. The woman has funds that the young man couldn't even dream to have in his lifetime, and so he's willing to do anything, and I mean anything, in order to be able to get his hands on it. So we see that, and the way that the show was going is like as though they were trying to bring a judgment on the Gambian people, on the Gambian men that was being shown in there. And the judgment was, well, like, are you not taking advantage of these women who are coming here looking for love, and then you end up, taking their money or saying that you're spending 60,000 euros on a piece of land that isn't going to cost you more than 10,000 euros, So it was kind of like that. But I can't judge. I can't put myself in a position of judge for these Gambian men, because this isn't, because what's happening here, what we're seeing here, is a symptom of something bigger, of something that's a lot more important, a lot more difficult to deal with, and that is poverty. The reason why these people are dealing with half-truths, lies, having these tragic relationships, tragic situations, rather than something that, is based on love and so on, is because of the fact that we have a power dynamic and it's been exploited. It's been exploited. And it's not something that's new. I've got notes down here because I want to try and keep my train of thought. I don't want to go off script. But, what you have, and it's been happening for years, is this idea from European people to be looking for opportunities for exotic sex. We saw way back Sarah Bartman, who was being shown around the world because of the shape of her body, how our ancestors who were enslaved in the past, many of the women and even some of the men were raped by the slave owners because of the fact that they could now take advantage of that power dynamic. We saw in films like Shirley Valentine, where I think it was back in 1989, back when there was a show there of an old lady from Liverpool. She goes over and she finds a young tavern keeper who sweeps her off her feet in, I think it was in Greece. I think it was in Greece. I think it was a Greek taverna. And he was there, and she was able to fall in love with this young man. And from that, I remember there were like news articles after news articles of women who were flying out to meet tall, dark, handsome young waiters and so on and so forth in the Greek islands. They were going over to Spain as well and meeting up with young Spanish waiters. This was back in the late 80s, early 90s. And back then, while we were dealing with pounds, they were dealing with pesos and drachmas. So it was like, we had, or the UK had a much stronger, a much stronger currency than those countries did. And because of that, they could take advantage. Not so much now because of the fact that, Spain is in the EU, so they're using euros, and you don't actually hear those stories. It doesn't become like a ongoing meme within British society about us older women taking advantage of people over there. But here in the Gambia, it is at the moment 67. It was 67 dalasi to the pound. This was like on the weekend. 67 dalasi to the pound this weekend. Usually it's around about 59 dalasi to the pound, 60 dalasi to the pound, 62 dalasi to the pound. So right now the pound is very strong against the dalasi. So as a side note, I wasn't going to go off script, but as a side note, if you're thinking of buying land and you're in the UK, then I would say get in touch with people here who can help you, because right now your pound will go much further than it will do when the season opens. So if you're ready to move and you're thinking about it, get in touch with, have a look at, I think it's called Seymour Estates. Have a look at Seymour Estates. I'll put the link down below so you can check her out. There's a sister called C. She's an estate agent. She used to be an estate agent over in the UK. So she knows her stuff. She knows how to cross the T's and dots her I's, and she'll be able to help you out. Shakina Chinadu is another person who also does help people with buying land and buying property. And if you're thinking of trying to move soon, you want to see your pound stretch as far as possible, then do that. Last side note before I continue, the dollar to the dalasi hasn't fluctuated as much. It was $50 50 dalasi to the dollar. It's now 51 dalasi to the dollar. So it's only moved just a touch. So it tells us that in the UK they are pumping money into the system at the moment to keep things looking like as though they're okay, and they're not okay, right? They're not okay, but they're pumping in money into the system over there to keep things looking good. So the pound is looking stronger in comparison to these exotic currencies they're called. And right now, if you go and check the share price of banks in Europe at the moment, they're at the same level that they were back in 1987. So right now there's a lot of quantitative easing happening in the EU, trying to deal with this coronavirus and so on and so forth, and other crashes that they've tried to put plasters over. So if you're thinking of investing over here, now's the time to move. I don't know when you'll see this video. This is now the end of September 2020. So if you're looking at this a month later, ignore everything I've just told you, all right? Let me go back to our conversation. All right, so now, think as well, right? You've got the Dominican Republic. Dominican Republic also has a very strong kind of sex industry that continues. India has a massive red light district where girls are being, they'll come from the provinces, come into the large cities looking for work, and end up working in a brothel somewhere, trying to work off the debt that has been imagined for them for a tenner a go kind of thing. Jamaica has been known for their rent-a-dread situation over there. So it's happening not just in Gambia, it's happening all over the place. Thailand is another good example where, whether you want boys, girls, lady boys, whatever your kind of fetish is, they will accommodate your fetish without question. All right, I'm coming to the front porch because I was getting eaten up by the mosquitoes. So I'm now in the front porch where I have some mosquito netting around, so should be fine. Let me try and get my conclusion in. All right, so we're seeing that because of this kind of power dynamic that happens between different countries, because of the strength of the pound versus the drachma versus the peso versus the Jamaican dollar versus the dalasi, people are able to take advantage of that regardless of where you are in the world. If you're a little bit exotic, then and there is a power dynamic as far as money is concerned, then expect people to want to take advantage of you. There's a book called The Delectable Negro, where it speaks about how people have fetishized about the black or the negroid body, right? And it goes from sexual to cannibalistic. You know, people like Jeffrey Dahmer is a very good example of modern day version of that, where people are interested in the black body. We have to be very careful not to look at what we saw in that that documentary as the problem is the Gambian. The problem isn't. The problem is the system within which they find themselves in. And the problem with the system they find themselves in is that here in the Gambia, the focus for the leadership hasn't been on improving the education of young people. Maybe now, I have heard that young people here, the younger generation growing up, are getting a better level of education than, say, those who are 20 years and over. That's what I'm hearing. I can't confirm or deny that. But from what I can see there, where you have around about a 50-50 split of literate to illiterate people here in the Gambia, and when you look at people who are further educated, so people have gone beyond school, that's a smaller fraction of that 50%. So it means that education is an issue, where it means that you have less opportunities available to you. That isn't the fault of the Gambian men who are here on the beach. That's the fault of the environment within which they've grown up. And even going further than that, look at black people outside of Gambia, right? So you will find that there are a lot of us who are doing our best, working in dead-end jobs. We blatantly know we're being taken advantage of. We know that people are being employed with less understanding of the role, with less experience, being given more money, and they're being put in a higher position than us, simply because of the fact that they are more relatable to the person who's doing the hiring and firing, and the person who's doing the hiring and firing isn't usually a black person. So we find ourselves being taken advantage of. We find our bodies, our hard work, our sweat equity being taken advantage of. Okay, yeah, we're not having to prostitute ourselves, our physical bodies, but we are being prostituted because of the fact that you do end up finding yourselves being overworked and underpaid for something that somebody else is doing for less time and less work. And the reason why we find ourselves in that situation is because of the system that we find ourselves. The situation in which we find ourselves is a situation where other people are able to take advantages that we have not been able to take advantage of. There are people here in the Gambia, like myself, who've come over from the States, who've come over from the UK, from Europe, so on and so forth. And there's many times where I've had conversations with one-on-ones, and they admit that we're the lucky ones. We're the ones that are able to escape. It may not have been easy. I remember listening to a video from the Bag family, and they were like, look, you might need to sell your stuff. The African Picnic couple, they were saying about selling their washing machine, selling their car, doing whatever they had to do to get the ticket to get over here. Not even to be able to build a house, build a life here. They were like, let me just get to Africa and then I'll figure out the rest of it when I get here. And that's how some of us have had to do it. And yet we still see ourselves as lucky to be here. So is this documentary that was on Channel 4 was a sad indictment, not on just Gambia or those Gambian men that were there, but of the system which they find themselves in, the system within which Gambia as a country finds itself in. A system where at the moment it takes 67 of their dalasi to make £1 You know, that's kind of like, why? When you have resources here, when you have, you know, you have Africa is where all the resources are, but somehow all the funds are over there. How did that happen? People are being taken advantage of, and it's easy to see when the people who are being taken advantage of are, you know, the ones on the beach, and you may say, look at them, there's no problem with them. When in actual fact, what we should do, when we're pointing our finger at them, notice that there are another 3 fingers pointing back at ourselves, and it's ourselves we should be looking at. And how can we, over in the diaspora, come back to Gambia, or come back to whichever part of Africa you want to go to, whether it be east, west, maybe south, east or west, let's stick with east or west, right? Wherever we decide to go, how can we be enablers of self-sufficiency, sufficiency of the local people, so they're not having to do this stuff where they talk all the good talk. Yes, I'm in love. Yes, she's amazing. Yes, blah, 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 blah. Yes, she's 82. Oh, sorry, I mean 68. Oh, yeah, you know, we're the same age. I mean, sorry, she's 14 years older than me. All of this stuff just to be able to make sure you can possibly make a life for yourself and your family. That's not fair. It's not correct. It's not right. And there's only one set of people who can do something about it. And if you're watching this video and you're of African descent and you are not here in the Gambia or in the motherland yet, I'm talking to you. You're the one who can do something about it. So come join us. I think that's all I need to say. I don't want to ramble on too long. It's been a long video. It's not normal like me. But until next time, this is Mali, signing out.